Fisal Campbell is the son of Dr. Malachi York and Monica Pope, also known as Imhotep Ka'are Nun Sa Atumre, which is a title that I have accepted for myself, which means Imhotep, peaceful one, Ka'are, son of the spirit, Nun of the primal waters, is what that means. Peaceful one of the primal waters, the sun spirit, is what it means. That's Fisal Campbell.
They made him a threat, but the truth is all we had.
Oh, that's a tough one. Okay. Personally, I think humanity is at a crossroads. There's a lot of information that's coming out, and there's nothing that anyone can do to stop it. There's a lot of awareness that's waking up, and there's nothing that anyone can do to stop it. The thing is that, or should I say, the question is how do we choose to take the future? You know, do we choose to create a world where everyone divides again and everyone has to fight in war like continuously? Or do we have a world of peace? Do we work together? Do we find a means to understand and value human life? Well, those that are known as Africans today, their ancestors is the mother and father of all of humanity. Humanity, the core of humanity stems from there. Even down to the ones that migrated to the north and then devolved into what is identified to be the Neanderthal, and then later on came back and other generations that were known as human mixed in, and now we have this quote-unquote hybrid, but the source of it is all from Africa, or the land that's called Africa today. Humanity has lost its balance. It has. But humanity is, some humans are fighting for the balance back, and others want to keep the balance off. You know, it's for an example, you can't have a land that's the richest land and the people be poor, completely poor. That doesn't make sense. This is an imbalancement. This is something that's not right. You know, you can't have history written about whole generations of people and exclude the actual creators, you know? Like, even down to our time system, it's fucked up. We have a leap year. Every 4 years, there's a day that's not calculated. Well, the day's not calculated because they messed up the calendar, you know, by erasing a whole chunk of mankind's history, by trying to cut the black man out of the whole history. Renaming the continent Africa because Africa means Farraka, Farraka means Ifriqiya, Ifriqiya means to divide. So the people that are there in that continent, the people that come from that land, the origins of that people from that land, when they call themselves Africans, they call themselves division. And this was a mockery. This was a name that was given to us after we were conquered. Some have a giving nature, and some have a taking nature. And then there are some who thrive off of both at the same time. The ones who take, most of the times, are very chaotic. They always want to take positive energy and destroy it. They always want to devalue it. They always want to take something that's beautiful, that people hold sacred and respect and in honor for generations, and they want to crap on it because they think it's funny. They want to break it, and this is that nature. One is an aggressive, disagreeable nature. The other one is a positive and a progressive nature. You know, but this exists technically in all men, but it depends on which man and woman chooses to, it's your choice at the end of the day, which side you want to be. If you want to be a devaluer, a devil, or if you want to be the antidote, if you want to be something that can benefit people, if you want to help out, if you want to go out into the world and really make a difference. There are technically 4 different groups of humanity. The 4 different groups represents the 4 elements. You have, and we're going to use color just to start off with, you have red, yellow, white, and black. Okay? When you go to the black, if you look at black, we come as the most richest and the most fertilest soil on the planet. That's why our skin is as dark as it is. We're like chocolate. Our hair reaches the sky like the trees. You don't believe me? Go drop down a mountainside and look over. You'll see. The land's got an afro. Even the grass grows up. You know, we are the earth. That's our element. And when you go into white, White is fire. You know, how do you know that? Look at their technology. And if you look at their history, there were two great discoveries that they made that they use as a point to say that they evolved into beings or conscious beings that are able to manipulate the world today. That was fire, and that was the wheel. Fire, you know, fire is the element. Look at the technology, you know what I'm saying? Guns, bomb, explosions, bombs, everything for holidays, for events, you know, everything's fire. Even your birthday candles, you light a candle, fire, you know. Fire is their element. When you go into the yellow, their element is water. You know, they get into the Tai Chi, the Zen, the flow of energy, you know what I'm saying? It's water. That's their concept. Is all about water. When you go into the red, there's just air. You know what I'm saying? Everything for them is about chariots in the sky and spirit that are in the sky and to be amongst the clouds. All of their ancient drawings and carvings on the walls for their stories and their books that were written on their walls. You know, these are all talking about chariots in the skies and beings in the heavens and airs, and their language is written with a line coming down. You know what I'm saying? From the air down. So when all four elements work together in perfect harmony, they create the perfect habitat. You know what I'm saying? For us as humans to live in today. You know what I'm saying? But when one of the elements decides to conquer the rest of them, then it causes an imbalancement, a shift. You know what I'm saying? For an example, if you have a fire that chooses to conquer the land, what does it do? It consumes everything. And the more it consumes, the more oxygen it gets, the more fuel it gets, the bigger it becomes. You know what I'm saying? That's just, this is in nature. You watch it. If you look at typhoons, the same thing. Water, bam, they come, they get higher, and they just push, and the waves gets even higher, and then they push, and the waves gets even higher. And you know, this is when it takes over. When one element chooses to conquer over the rest. And one of the great proof to that is when we look at history today. When we look at history today, and we look at the time of Europe, look at the time that Europe has sat in power and ruled the world in power. You know what I'm saying? Look at it. You know, what have they done? They've consumed everything because that's the element, that's the fire. Now, if you take fire and you focus fire in the right direction, you can have electricity. You can have a computer, you can have a stove, you can have heating for your home. You know what I'm saying? Fire is not a bad thing. Fire can be helpful, fire can be good, you know? And it's the same with the earth, the same with the water, and the same with the air. You know what I'm saying? But the most important thing for us as humans is we have to first learn how to value human life. You know what I'm saying? From my opinion, yes. What I have to say, I have no actual place that I can point you to prove the fact of this. But from my opinion, yes. You know, because there are too many relics and artifacts. For an example, like you find pyramids all over the world. You know what I'm saying? When you go into the ancient cultures of societies, you actually see in carvings and in paintings that they actually have multicolored people on the wall, even in Egypt. You know what I'm saying? So we're living in a time where the information is flipped around. Everybody thinks that the world has always been at war, from the Neanderthal days up until man days. Like, that's what people think. But no. Think about Michael Jackson. A lot of people don't realize about Michael Jackson is Michael Jackson, he was one of our greatest pioneers. And I'm talking about from us as a people. Now, the video, remember the time, you know? If you pay attention to how the video was set up, all of the Egyptians in there were of what is known today as black people, which is, by visual, this was right, this was correct. When we fell in love, do you remember the time when we first met, girl? Now, here's the funny thing. Because of the system in America that runs the entertainment industry, understanding that entertainment, it influences people very heavily. You know, and at the time that Michael Jackson was around, he was not allowed to portray us as a people in any place of power unless there was a form of treachery going on. What was that? They had the beautiful Cleopatra, who he had the perfect girl to play her because she looked almost right. If she was a little bit darker, well, a lot darker actually, then she'd been right. You know, she'd been right. I'm talking about the real one. You know, and then you had Eddie Murphy playing one of the Egyptian pharaohs named Imhotep. You know, And even with Eddie Murphy's character was spot on. You know, the only thing he didn't have was a thing, you know, but he was spot on. I'm talking about with the color wise, and this was to get us to remember who we used to be, because today in archaeology they're all wondering, oh, who built the pyramids, because they didn't want to tell us that it was us that built the pyramids, because if they tell us that it was us that built the pyramids, then they have to admit to everything that happened in history, and they have to admit to the lie that's out there today of what's going on, even down to the generations of those who are Egyptians today. They were born there today, yes, they're yeah. I'm saying, but they're not the original people who built that place. The original people who built that, a lot of them were taken out of the country and a lot of them migrated out of the area. They had to get out of there. You know what I'm saying? This was a very hard time for us. You know what I'm saying? This was like from time from Rome, and when the Persians, when the Arabs, the Muslims, and like all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like this was a siege on us as a people. It was a siege on our whole everything. And today we are now in a society where we have been ripped away from everything. We've lost connection to everything. We didn't know anything, and people like Michael Jackson, with this song "Remember the Time," this was to get us to remember, but he had to do it in a way to where people, the people that was backing him, supporting him, couldn't necessarily see the message of what he was trying to say, or more or less see it in a way of mockery, because then you have this great queen who is beautiful, and she is swooned by this magic man who turns into golden dust. And if you go behind the story, Michael Jackson, as the singer of the song, he represents his image of what the spirit was. You know what I'm saying? This is why he was able to move around. He was wearing gold and everything like that, because he represented the spirit. But he had to change his complexion and his skin. And this is what a lot of people don't realize about why he did what he did and how he was tormented in his life. Is that this was an employment to show the Caucasian people that we are humans too. Because in America it was terrible. In his time it was terrible too. They like people like Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder had great hits. James Brown didn't become big until later, much later. You know, after he was a much older man. Then people respected the music. But it was Michael Jackson that opened that door into a lot of the people, because you had a lot of these Caucasian children who fell in love with him. And when they saw him that time on stage with his brothers, they saw black, white, black. But they knew, they thought that was his brothers. You know what I'm saying? You had his mother, his father sitting in the crowd. You know what I'm saying? So when what his actions did, some black people get mad at him. They're like, oh, he was trying to be white. He was trying to da-da-da-da. People say whatever they want. But what his actions did, it opened up the idea to the Caucasian people that we are humans, because a lot of their parents was teaching them that we weren't humans. A lot of their parents before them was teaching them that we don't feel pain like everybody else. We're worthless. We're nothing. You know what I'm saying? They demeaned our character. They destroyed us. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that they did in America to our people was just insane. It was ridiculous. It was. And this happened for hundreds of years, you know what I'm saying? Like hundreds of years. And I'm not even talking about what happened in Africa. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about just from the American perspective, you know, because, you know, he came up there. So you had different people who came about to try to open up us again, get us to remember who we are again, so that we can be a people again. We don't have to feel inferior. We don't have to feel like we're nothing. We don't have to believe that we're nothing. You know what I'm saying? We are great. You know what I'm saying? We are beautiful. We come up with the greatest pieces of art. Our music is the most revered and the most loved around the world. You know what I'm saying? Many things of our culture is so beautiful, but when people look at us as a people and we say, hi, I'm a black man, they go, oh, gangster, thug, hip hopper, rapper, you know, fried chicken, nigga, oh Jemima, fat mama, oh, Japonica, ghetto, hood. You know, these are all of the slave. You know what I'm saying? Not trustworthy, unprofessional. You know what I'm saying? They'll rob you, they'll steal from you. These are all identities that is connected to that identity that we call ourselves today, black people. When we go to the name Africa, Africa says that we're divided. So in one aspect, we're calling ourselves division. In another aspect, we're calling ourselves rejects. You know what I'm saying? And this was a psychological damage that happened to us. This is what has to be fixed. That's what has to be changed. And we have people in America like Marcus Garvey. You have people like Martin Luther King. You have people like Malcolm X. You have people like Farad Muhammad. You have people like Imam Isa, Dr. Malachi York. You know what I'm saying? Like you had people like, we had these people who came to try to change our perspective of who we were as a people, because we were the victims. And now we're in a society where they're trying to paint us to be the monsters, the aggressors. People are afraid of a black man. Why are you afraid of a black man? The black man should be afraid of the white man. True story. One, Michael Jackson had vitiligo. Two, the overall message was to show Caucasian people that we, the Nuwapian people, are human beings too. To show them that we're not different than them and that they come from us. How do you know that? Because you had a black man that made himself look white. But a white man can never make himself look black no matter how much he cuts himself off. You know, that's the core message, that Caucasian comes from us. So we're all human, and we feel, but they come from us. You know what I'm saying? That's basically the message that he portrayed with that change. I think that a lot of the great leaders, the black liberation fighters, and all of these different people that you can name, you know what I'm saying, from Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Farad Muhammad, Malachi York, you know what I'm saying, and many others who I don't have their names on my head right now, you know, but each of them came in a time in order to progress us forward, is from my understanding. Like, I did a lot of research on it, and part of it was I was overwhelmed sometimes by the suffering that they went through, to read some of the stuff, to deal with hearing, and you know, but overall the message that I got from it was like, you had Marcus Garvey, and Marcus Garvey said, okay, well, they claim that we're free, but they don't want us here. We're not allowed in shops, we're not allowed here, we're not allowed there. So what are we gonna do? Let's get together, put money together, let's get a boat and let's go back home. That was Marcus Garvey's idea. You know what I'm saying? Marcus Garvey was saying, we need a science that belongs to us. We need our own holidays. We need our own stories. We need our own histories again. We need our own everything. This is what makes a culture. Our own language that's not influenced by somebody else's language, but a language that's ours, from us. An identity that's for us, from us. This is what Marcus Garvey was talking about back then. You know what I'm saying? He got enough money. He got enough of our people to get some money together. They got some big old ships. And then it was sabotage. It was sabotaged. So he was like, okay. And he left the country. He read in a newspaper that he died of a heart attack, and he died of a heart attack. I'm saying that was the end of Marcus Garvey. Then you have Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, who came up around the same time, and other brothers that was behind them. You know what I'm saying? In the fold too, working, but they stayed away from the spotlight. Like, and you had Malcolm X. Malcolm X, he was screaming, hey, look, we tried to go home. You didn't want us to go home. You know what I'm saying? You don't want us here. Why don't we have something that's just for us? Something that's just for us. And he started going into Islam. But then when he got a chance to go overseas, and when he went overseas, then he saw there was a whole other group and a whole other nation that was connected to Islam. This is when he started to think of this unity of this whole, what they call it today, Pan-Africanism is what they call it today, where it's the unification of all of Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like, he started with this idea, and he comes back to America to give this idea, and he gets shot. Bang! He gets killed. And you have Martin Luther King, who sees that Malcolm X was like, hey, look, we want something just for ourselves. Can we have something for ourselves? He got killed. Marcus Garvey came and said, look, we just want to go home. Can we just go home? And he got killed. Martin Luther King said, man, hey, we just want to be equal. I just want to see the same kids, different race kids going to the same schools, and everything's equal. If we can't go home and we can't have something for ourselves, then can we at least coexist in balance with each other? This is what Martin Luther King was saying. You know what they did? Bah! He got killed. You know what I'm saying? And then here's what Dr. Malachi York did. As opposed to going out and trying to convince the people, them, the Caucasian groups or the masters, or however you want to look at it, for whatever people want to take it for, it is what it is. And then I'm talking about America. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to trying to convince them to give us something for ourselves, he began doing it himself. He took his money, he had the music thing, he had all of these different things, and all of these different people that connected with him, all of the elders today, they're the elders today, the true elders, the ones that walked with him, the ones that was in the libraries, the one that was in the books, to gather the information, to create this information so that we as a people can be more. And it was for us. It was for us. And Dr. Malachi York's, his goal was, okay, let's create a name for us, from us. And let's see if we can convince all of us. Why? Because the name that we have now, these are all names of mockery. These are all names that was given to us while we were in bondage. People weren't listening at first. It was like, nah. So you know what he ended up doing? He bought property. He brought land down in Georgia. Built Egypt in Georgia just to show people so that new generations of children, of black children, can grow up seeing that. Connecting already to that from birth. Giving us a higher connection back to our true ancient ancestors. And some of their, because Egypt, it wasn't just that one spot, and it wasn't light-skinned Egyptians. These Egyptians were true Egyptian. Egyptos is dark. They are black people. When they migrated, what is down the Nile, you can find more pyramids and structures that was built from the settlers that went there when they left the mainland. You know what I'm saying? And these people just migrated throughout Africa, and this information got lost during the Inquisition. They burnt billions of books. Why? Because of all of the black faces and all of the stories was about us. Hence the reason why today when you go to school they tell you that it's his story, because they're saying that it's our story. But we are the ones that's missing it. That's why it's a mystery to us. I think the final step to liberation is for us as a people to change our identity. Change our name. Because technically we're already free. We can travel anywhere in the world now. You know what I'm saying? We can go and people respect us to a point. But most people who don't know who we are, if we don't have something awesome like music to present or some form of art to present, then we're immediately written off as being a refugee or being a person who's not trustworthy, a person who's going to rob and steal you because of the identity of being black. For an example, hence the reason why I said black being reject. Okay, for an example, if you go to a club and you dance in and then you get into a fight, for whatever reason, you get into the fight and security sees you fighting, they take you and kick you out. And they tell you that you can't come back. You know what that's called? It's called blackballed, right? Now, if you have dirt on somebody, let's say you have a friend who has something that you want, and you see them do something that they shouldn't do, or that they know that they're not supposed to be doing, and they don't want you to tell on them, and then you have this information, and you go to them and you say, hey, look, guess what? I got this. Now, if you give me that, I won't tell nobody about this. You know what that's called? They call it black male. Wait a minute, I'm a black male technically, right? Right? A black male? Really? So that means I'm immediately identified as someone who's out to get you, who's out to take something from you. And it's like, motherfucker, what the fuck I need to take from you? You took everything from me. What the fuck do I got? Even my name, my land is gone. My true origin and history. I gotta dig and dig and dig and dig and dig, and then I gotta change the faces just to get a true connection to the true history of what's going on. Yeah. I think there's a lot of white Americans that's getting the message, you know, and then a lot of them is definitely helping. I've seen protests from a lot of them that where they're saying that they're white, but they are fighting for equal rights. You know, I watched this other video where you had a group of Caucasian people who made, they basically submitted themselves to the Native American chiefs and apologized. You have a lot of them that are fighting for the water. There's a lot of pro-black ones even here in Germany. Yeah, a lot of them, they're learning about the culture. A lot of them want to get into it, but at the same time, there's a lot of Caucasian people who are afraid of it. They're afraid of this whole thing. You know, and with Trump is basically, for some of the white Americans who are afraid, he's basically in their eyes, he's the knight in shining armor, because he's pretending now to be for everyone, but in reality, we all know he's not. But I mean, but at the same time, if we look at everything from the way he got into the presidency, he lied his entire way. From the whole, and he was caught in a lie. It's gonna be up to Americans at the end of the day. And I'm talking about all of them. And yeah, you're gonna have some of the Nazi KKK groups who's gonna wanna band together and wanna stand up and wanna claim white power and blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, there's gonna be a lot of Caucasian people that's gonna also be on our side too, because they understand the balance of the four elements. They remember that they are fire and we are earth. And then they're air, and then there's water. And together we can all live together. Without the sun, guess what? There's no warmth. If you'll make a fire on a cold night, guess what? There's no warmth. But if there's no land, there's no matter. There's no earth, there isn't matter, you know? So at the end of the day, we all need each other. That's the overall point. We all need each other. And yeah, we've been cut down, but it's time for us to stand up again. One of the biggest things that we have to do to stand up is we have to change our name. We have to change what people see us as and what we call ourselves. No longer to be known by a shade or a color, but a people as proud, tall, and strong. We've come too far to let you stop us now. Oh, freedom. Oh, yeah. Freedom for the people. Well, it has two points. From one aspect of it, it's about fighting for my father's freedom, because he's in jail for fighting for us as a people, for giving us a people an identity. And the people who studied under my father, Malachi York, you know, they learned, the ones who started in the beginning, they learned all the schools from Islam to Christianity to Hebrew, you know what I'm saying, which is Judaism, to the Egyptian schools, to the small different sects and cultures of groups that are in Africa, from the different spiritual belief systems, even down to Yoruba. You know, even down to like all of these different, and the reason why was because we as a people, we have become divided, and we have been spread out to every different belief system. And because in these different belief systems, the way that they're designed and built in us, because we're spiritual people, they've created walls around separate groups. So the Christians, the black Christians, are afraid to connect to the black Muslims. You know what I'm saying? And the black Muslims are afraid to connect to the black Hebrews, and the black Hebrews are afraid to connect to the tribal members, the ones who deal with the ancestral spirits and this stuff like that, you know, with Yoruba and everything like that. But they forget that regardless on what their perspective of the circle that they're looking at, they're still looking at the same circle, because they come from the planet Earth. They're from Earth. Our element is Earth. You know what I'm saying? We have rhythm, we have tone, we have vibration, we have sound. That's why we're masters of music. You know, and this is just, it's like all of the music today is inspired by us, by our sounds, our tone. It is. You know? I would ask them to stop fighting amongst each other. And that's all of us. Though today we are farak. We are divided. Africa. We're scattered all over the earth. To the ends of the earth we are scattered. People take us and adopt us to their culture, and we choose to adapt to their culture, but we can't fully adapt to their culture. We're not accepted in their culture, 100%. And this is reality. We get treated by every other group of people as secondary. If I go into an Arab store, they don't treat me pleasant. They treat me with complete disrespect. They follow me around as if I'm going to steal something from them. And I look at them like, I'm not going to steal from you. And most of the time, they don't even realize, but it's the drunk German guy with the long trench coat that actually stole something, that walked out the store. You know, these are the things that we experience every day. People tell us, oh, come on, you're free already. Stop worrying about racism. But we experience it every day. It's not a good feeling to walk on a train and some old lady clenches her purse real tight. You know, and you're looking at her like, lady, why are you afraid of me stealing from you? Your people stole from me. Everything that you got is mine, even down to your number system. Comes from us. Comes from we. But why are our children suffering? Why do our children sit sick? Why are our land being tormented and burned, but used up? It's okay to pull oil from the land. It's okay to test diseases on the people. Why is it like that? Why is the richest land on the planet the people